Hello and welcome back to the Smaulgld Indian silver import update for the month of July. You missed 7 minutes of me talking to myself, so I'm going to go back and we're going to see what's happening and see if we can stay hooked up. All right, so let's give you the first chart. I mean, you saw the charts, but you didn't get the commentary. And so I'm going to show you where we are to date. Okay, so the first chart we're going to look at, all dislikes so he knows, that doesn't help pay to win. I won't see that. That's not going to help me. Actually, what you do is writing in your comments. That helps me. I don't see the ups, I don't see the thumbs up or thumbs down when I'm looking at it. Just so you know what happens here, I'm looking at the charts just as you are, and I don't see the chat box. And if I do see the chat box, then I can't see the streaming, whether it's on or off. So generally I'm looking at the charts with you, and then I have to go back and look at the desktop audio. It gets very complicated. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look just to make sure that the thing is still streaming. I don't know why it gets cut off. I get cut off every couple of times, every other time that we are on this live stream. I have a very good internet connection, but not sure why that happens. Okay, so what you're looking at now is looks a little, does that look funny to you? It looks fuzzy to me on the screen. That's not a bad looking chart, but it looks bad on my screen. Does that, if it does, let me know. Okay, so Indian silver imports July to July, 314 tons imported in this July versus 324 tons or so July last year. Now, 314 tons still is 10 million ounces. That's a lot of ounces of silver, especially if you consider that's an off month. Now, in April, when they did 902 tons, that was nearly 29 million ounces. That's just 1 month of Indian silver demand is represented by imports. The U.S. Mint in 2017 only sold 18 million 1-ounce American Silver Eagles. This year, the U.S. Mint will probably sell 12 or 13. So in 1 month alone, April 2018, 902 tons is about 29 million ounces. Now, this year you can see, over the past 12 months, some very solid months. Only 5 months under 400. The rest of them all even more than that. But as I mentioned, 300 tons is still 10 million ounces plus. Okay, let's take a look now, though, at what's happening with Indian silver demand year over year. And here is this year versus last year, January through July. It looks like we're still live streaming. Okay, looks good to you. Fine. Just on the screen here. This year through July, January through July, India has imported 4,153 tons. That's the red line there. You add all those up, you get 4,153 tons. That is the equivalent of 133,522,052 ounces of silver. I'll repeat that. 2018 so far, 133.5 million ounces imported. That's up 40% from last year. That's the blue, when they imported 2,972 tons or 95.5 million ounces. So last year, they imported 95 million ounces. This year, so far, through July, 133.5 million ounces. As I mentioned, that is a 40% increase. Now, July and January were the only 2 months in 2018 that were lower than 2017. You can see February, March, April, May, June. Very, very big, strong months ahead of last year. So we don't know if this July is an aberration, whether we're going down again, whether the Indians are going to continue to add silver. July was a big gold month They imported 75 million and the preliminary tons, and the preliminary gold imports for April are at 100 tons. So maybe India is swapping over to gold, although maybe they could increase in August as well. Not sure what's happening. You would think with the lower prices, July might have been a stronger month, but it wasn't. But overall, this year is a strong year versus last year. But let's take a look now at how this looks more long-term, where we are over the last 4 years. Then we're going to go back 10 years, and then we're going to go back almost 20 years. But first, let's just look at the monthly imports here. The monthly imports here from August 2014 to July 2018. What's good about this chart, it shows you at the very far left how strong imports really were closing out 2014. Look at those. 1,000 tons, 1,250 tons in the month of, it looks like November of 2014. That is 40 million ounces. 40 million ounces. That's near a record year for American Silver Eagles. But look at all those numbers above 1,000. We haven't topped that since December 2015. Then 2016, you can see that last time it went above 1,000 tons. 2016 was a weak year. You had all these months. Sometimes they imported barely much at all. And then late in 2017, you can see they went above 750 again for the first time. And this year, 2016, it's been a pretty solid year. So that's your monthly chart. Now let me show you how it aggregates up when you put it into annual demand or annual. Well, it is the demand. I mean, there is some silver mining going on in India, and of course, there's a large secondary secondary market in India, but they do import the bulk of their demand. All right, now this chart is showing you 2008 to 2018. And you could see the big year was 2015 when you added up all those big months. You got 8,529 tons of gold. That is massive, as I mentioned. That's over 40. No, 80 for that. That was just the 1 month. 8,529 tons. I'm sorry, is 275 million ounces. 275 million ounces. They only mine about 860 million ounces. So that is a big portion of the, it's about 30% of overall silver mining production that year. Now you can see now 2016, as I was mentioning, was a down year, but still a strong year. I mean, 3,546 tons is still 114 million ounces. Now this year in 2018, they've already passed that number, and that's 133 million ounces, or 4,127 tons of silver. So it looks like this year, if it carries on at this pace, is going to be a lot higher than last year for sure. It's probably not going to top the 2015 number, but it certainly is. Let's see, it's going to be about 589 times 12. We could get about 7,000 tons. So it could be the second biggest year or the third biggest year behind 2015 and 2014. And that number, that 4,127 in 2018, really hurt a bit by the July numbers. But we'll see where August, September, November, December come in, and maybe it'll be a bigger year there. I'm guessing it will be. There's no duty on the Indian silver the way there is on gold. It's still very cheap. Maybe they think gold is a bargain and they're buying more of it. I don't know. We'll just have to track it next month. But you can see since 2008, pretty robust numbers there. 5,000 tons or more on a few occasions. And remember, 5,000 tons is 160 million ounces. Let's take a look now a little longer term. And this chart's going to show you really almost the developmental wealth of India. And we have the same thing in gold. You can see back in 1999 through about 2007, not as much silver imported. And part of that is because the economy was smaller. the people had less money. And then you can really see it ramp up after 2008. And part of it is also, I think, there was a bit more buying after the financial crisis. The other thing that could be going on right now in July and August is the rupee is hammered. And the time to buy gold and silver, because it's relative to your currency, is before your currency goes down. So that could be hampering silver imports, although it wasn't hurting gold imports, which were up, according to preliminary numbers in August, up to 100 tons. But you may expect to see that the demand for gold trails off if the price of gold is more expensive in Indian rupees. Although I do see that there's discounts compared to rupees in the last few months, so maybe that's helping the gold price, the gold demand, but not helping the silver demand. Okay, and I think that's it for Indian silver imports. Remember, Indian silver imports, and even more especially Indian gold imports, are very important in gauging overall demand because they rely almost exclusively on gold imports for their demand, other than the secondary that they have in the country. And silver's pretty much most of their demand comes from imports. So just to compare this, that Indian silver, as we mentioned, could be 30-35% of overall mining production in a year. That's very significant. And Indian gold imports can top 900 to 1,000 tons a year. And, you know, we talk about Russia buying gold hand over fist. Central bank, they're buying 200, 240 tons a year. So India really is one to keep an eye on if you're trying to gauge the flows of precious metals of gold and silver. All right, let's check out the comments. Let me make sure we're still streaming. Yes, we are. All right. I think all the comments are going to be about not hearing anything. No audio, no sound. You must know by now you can't hear. No sound, no sound. Lewis, hello, we can't hear you. Meanwhile, this guy is still enjoying talking to himself, says pay to win. No sound, very good point. Small. All dislikes, so he knows. Smaulgld fixing. Thumbs up, I hear you now. Woo. Everything seems to be working. Looks okay to me. India started putting import tax on gold. Yes, they have a 10% import tax and a 5% goods and services tax. Nope, it was 2013, not 2017. 2017, they added the goods and services tax. And Julie Keller says, hey, party people, anyone see the fight? All right, well, we didn't have many comments. And if we don't have any more comments, I might sign off and say we'll see you tomorrow night. I apologize that tonight most of the podcast was silent, and that's how it goes sometimes. I hope to find a better way of live streaming without the interruptions. I haven't been able to figure out why the live stream cuts off, but for us conspiracy theorists, we're just going to blame YouTube. How's that sound? I doubt it's YouTube. I think it has something to do with, I don't know what it has anything. If I knew what it had anything to do with, I'd fix it. All right, thanks everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Check out Smaulgld on BitChute, Minds.com, Gab.ai. There's actually Gab.com now, and Twitter, Facebook, and Smaulgld.com, and Google+. Have a good night. Yes, pay to win. Normally what I do some pre-recorded videos lately, but recently what I've done is usually it's a 5 to 15, 20-minute monologue on the topic, and then we spend 25 minutes, half an hour going through the comments. And then what happens is this gets uploaded immediately after I sign off onto YouTube, and it shows the comments, and you can see me responding to the comments. Then I load it to Real Video and BitChute, but it gets loaded as a audio video file, but it doesn't include the comments. So if you want to rewatch these videos and see who I'm talking to, you have to watch the YouTube. However, because I read the comment out loud, you really don't need to see the chat bar. It may help you to see it, but I try to accommodate by reading out the comments and saying who they came from. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night.